Hello and welcome to Real-Ationship Talk, the podcast hosted by yours truly, Teresha Young, relationship master coach, where we have open, non-judgmental, heart-to-heart conversations about love, self-love, self-care, dating and relationships. And for this week's episode, I am being joined by the absolutely fabulous Varjas, who is a writer, blogger, speaker, author, and book writing coach who empowers and encourages her clients to step up and stand out so that they can be heard, understood, and ultimately believed. Her work focuses on showing you how to write a book that will change your life and impact others. Georgia, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. You know, we've been sort of chatting over the last few weeks and we haven't seen each other for a good 3 years.
Oh, yes.
But this is just wonderful to be able to chat with you and share with you all the goodies that we know will really make an impact on people's lives.
Oh, absolutely, Georgia, because of course, we are connected and I just see how much passion, how much fire, how much excitement that you bring to the world and also to the world of creativity and writing and empowering people to really tap into that empowerment and skill. So I'm super excited for our discussion today. Thank you for joining. So for those who do not know the magnificence of Georgia, please can you share a bit more about who you are, what you do, and also what led you to becoming a book writing coach?
Well, what can I say, Teresha? How much time have we got?
Oh, we are all ears.
Condensed version. So I'm living in Spain. I'm living by the sea, and that's always been my dream, to live by the sea. But I did spend many, many years in London, in the UK. And there I was always involved in the showbiz world. So I've done playwriting because I started writing dialogue. I was fascinated as a youngster how people spoke to each other. And it was all about drama. Because dialogue is just love, hate, drama, conflict, resolution. Oh, it was so exciting. So I got into playwriting and it was wonderful, exciting and exhausting, but it gave me a kind of taste for language. And this led to the spoken word performance poetry scene, of which I had the most wonderful time, both in the UK and the USA. And behind it all, I was doing music. So I was a saxophone player. That was my main business. And that taught me a lot about being a woman in the showbiz world, even more so than in the writing and theatre.
Okay.
In theatre, there's a lot of women, but they tend to be in lowly positions.
I see. Okay.
So my edge, if you like, comes from being in the showbiz world, and that's what gives me my urge to present and to perform and to share. Because I think even as a baby, as a child, I was always, showing the world what I could do.
Look at me.
Exactly. So I love to share all that experience that I've had coming from these different areas of the entertainment business, if you like to call it. And I was due to publish my 4th book in London in March 2020, when all of a sudden, at the very same time, the whole world received a virus.
Drama.
It was something to write about, actually.
Yes.
And so my book launch was postponed, shall we say, and I did it online, which was great, but it wasn't very satisfying for a person like myself.
Of course.
So it made me kind of restless. What am I going to do? I can't speak, I can't go out, I can't move. All these restrictions, for somebody like me was a bit frustrating, to say the least. But there it was, Teresha, a blessing in disguise, right staring me in the face. I have to share and teach and train what I know. And it was a wonderful thing. And it's, it took a little time to build it and find exactly the areas of my expertise that I could share. And voila, here I am today. And I have now, this month, I've got 3 writers going into publication, another one at the end of the month, and a book launch due in July. So, success, rewards, results all around, and I'm just thrilled. You know, this fantastic journey.
It is. That's an incredible journey, and I love the way how you transform something that could have been seen quite negative as the pandemic, but you use that as a tool of enlightenment to captivate yourself and catapult yourself into being a book writing coach, to use your knowledge and your skills in order to empower people to write their own story. I think that's absolutely incredible. Absolutely. So you spoke about some of your experiences that led you to becoming a book writing coach, and you spoke about being in the showbiz world and music and writing. Would you say that there is some synergy behind music and writing? Are they interlinked in some way?
Oh, very much so. I mean, the funny thing is, as though I wrote lyrics for other people's songs, when I listen to music, I hardly pick up any lyrics. I love the music, I'll sing the melody, but I can't retain the lyrics.
Yes.
And so I'm like, onion soup, making it all up. But yes, indeed, there is a huge relationship between us, because it's a great way to spread messages. And as we know, it's very powerful, subliminal in some cases.
Yes.
The way language is pushed out through music, and quite damaging if you look at some of the certain types of music that put out, negative images of women, of children, or certain peoples, But yes, it's very powerful. Lyrics, words can, words can damage, can make or break relationships.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I often say that your words are your wand. Really, you create so much with the power of your words, and it's almost like magic, and it's use our words in the way that is magical and empowers people and builds people up, rather than diminishing them, belittling them, degrading them in any way, shape or form. Have you found that language and the power of language has changed, particularly with social media coming into play? Have you seen a difference?
Yes, I think as well, there's a laziness that comes with it, the short form, the shortcut, the abbreviations, a lot of it I don't understand. It took me ages to find out what's that one, the famous one, WTF.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That one.
What's that mean? Yeah, I remember.
So many shortcuts. And then, of course, there's all kinds of little secret words that people use, and I think that can be quite damaging at times. It's laziness. When you think about letter writing, people used to write letters and to express themselves and share their emotions and feelings, and now letter writing is gone.
Exactly. Pen, paper. What is that all about? Who uses those tools anymore? Well, I hear what you're saying, because I remember I was talking to somebody once and I put LOL, laugh out loud. That person thought it was lots of love. So there's, I thought you can take it that way. It might not have the same context, but you can take it that way. However, yes, there has been a lot of abbreviations, a lot of laziness. Now, because of that laziness, quote unquote laziness, or the short form abbreviations that we have, do you feel that that is almost damaging the connections that we have with people? Has it changed the dynamics of relationships because we're just scaling everything down?
I think it's also, fear of being rejected, fear of not being liked, fear of not appearing cool, or fashionable, or young enough, old enough, thin enough, shapely enough, whatever it is. I think there's tremendous pressure because social media puts out this almost perfect image of who we are, and it's very difficult to keep up. If that's your intention, if you want to get something, so there's this competitiveness that comes with it, which, it can be healthy, but I think for a lot of people, it's too difficult to follow, too difficult to keep up.
So now that you have transitioned into being a book writing coach, what are some of the misconceptions or fears that you are finding that people and your clients are coming to you with about writing the book?
It's a great question, Teresha, because just the other day I wrote out 53 obstacles.
Oh, wow. And you're just getting started, huh?
I'm just getting started with that list. we humans are absolutely, excuse me, absolute geniuses, self-sabotage. As you know from your own work,
Yes.
we know how to stop ourselves doing the very thing we want to do most. And excuse me. So, you know, when you look at that list, when you see it in your face, when you read it, you think, really, am I like that?
Yes.
Because when we want to do something, or when we want to buy something for ourselves, we don't stop. When we've got it in our mind to buy a pair of red shoes, listen, girl, we go and buy them red shoes. We go searching all day for it.
Well, yeah, exactly. The red shoes as well. Not any red shoes, the red shoes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not the price or the time or the I can't do it because I've got this and that to do instead. It's the mind. It's all the mindset. It's the way we prepare ourselves to enter any project or friendship or relationship or business deal. It's the way we enter it with our mind, you know.
I see.
And it's very interesting that when people start writing a book, at the end of that journey, when they've put down that last full stop or they have the book in their hands, the transformation within themselves is extraordinary, not just from a business point of view, but emotionally.
Oh, gosh.
Confidence, courage, creativity, competence. Oh,
gosh, all of those beautiful C's that you're saying there. And I know that that's something that you definitely advocate in terms of courage, confidence, and also creativity, you know, as being those brilliant words, connection that you can have. Now, I had written actually a book of poems. It's 27 poems, and I wrote that back in 2015 or 2016, around that age, that time frame. Now, I've not released it yet, and it's not necessarily because, no, let me be completely honest. When I wrote these poems, I wrote them just from what I was feeling. I didn't have any audience in mind. I didn't map it out. There was no strategy. This was just free-flowing poems, because I love writing poems. Ever since I was a kid, I love writing poems. At school, give me an acoustic poem, everything like that. I loved doing it. And I like them to rhyme as well. But I've not released it. So it's almost like I need to ask myself, what is stopping me? Now, for me, some of my poems have a little bit of a spiritual flex to it. And I'm thinking, perhaps it won't resonate with everybody. I didn't do my market research to find out if this is the kind of thing that people are into now. I mean, I wrote it a good 6 years ago. Is it still in flow with the times? So even I have some of my own doubts, some of my questions that perhaps are blocking me. Now, what would you encourage me to do in that situation?
Well, one thing, I've got a book of poems.
Oh, yes. What is it called?
It's called Words on the Wild Side.
Oh, Words on the Wild Side. I love that.
The thing is, Teresha, is that you practically said it all yourself, is that we become very self-conscious about what other people would think about our work.
Yes. And
is it relevant, and what would they think? What would they think? But once you've written it, once you've put that book out there, it's no longer yours. It's for other people to enjoy and treasure and take and resonate with or identify with. It's for other people to say, I agree, I don't like that. I think, you know, it's no longer yours. It's out there for the world to benefit from.
Yes.
To understand and to say, oh, she was a sweetheart, or she was going through something there, or whatever it is. People will resonate and identify with it or not. But it's not your job to monitor it.
Yes, I love that. It's just putting it out there and releasing it, and just feeling that sense of accomplishment as well. It's like, there you are. Here's my gift to you.
Yeah. Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. Might have to put that on my to-do list. Also, you know, another blockage for me, and maybe people listening to this may resonate, is how do you get it published? No, it's one of those. I think maybe I concentrate too much on the hows and the whats of it rather than just getting it out there. I'm thinking, what am I going to have to go to a major publishing house? You know, are these some of the questions that you get from people who work with you?
Absolutely, because you know, previous years, I mean, it has changed in the last 4 or 5 years, even longer than that. But self-publishing has become very easy. And it's prestigious now. It used to be looked down upon and frowned upon as being, you know, not good quality, beginner writers. it was the very snobbish attitude towards publishing. It was for the elite and for the good writers, you know.
Oh, yes.
Snobby attitude. But that's
Yeah.
all changed now, and publishing is much easier
Mm.
in the practical sense of it. And there's a lot of people, funnily enough, in the last couple of years, a lot of people, especially women who were journalists or editors who worked for bigger companies, who lost their jobs for all the reasons we know that happened, took up the incentive to start their own independent publishing companies.
Oh, wow.
And there's
Amazing.
lots of them.
Okay.
So there's different options now. And it is about finding the right people. But when somebody works with me, I introduce them to recommended editors and publishers. So I outsource to people that I know produce good quality work, and also have, you know, I have the writer in mind. They would work better with this person, or this one has more experience with this particular topic. So I can introduce them to really good people and make that journey easier.
And that's what it's about, as you said, empowering people and making that journey easier for them. So would you be able to just kind of walk us through the type of journey that somebody could experience when working with you?
Well, I work in 3 different areas, which is the writing process, which is obviously the big part of it.
Yes.
And it's showing that person, understanding clearly what is the heart and core of their book. What is it that they really want to write about? Some people know it from the beginning, and it's an easy job to just then structure it, work it all out, chunk it down, make it easy for them to write out those chapters, the 10, 15 chapters that they might write, to come up with a killer title, to come up with irresistible chapter title. But then you find people who are not clear about what that idea is, and it can turn and change and change. So I worked with somebody recently, and at the beginning of that 12-week journey, because she took that 12-week program with me, she had all kinds of ideas, too many ideas. And now at the end, it's something completely different and absolutely fabulous. So sometimes it takes a lot of work to churn it out, and you have to go over it deeply inside of yourself. But once the heart and the core of the book is sorted, then it's about structuring it, as I said, finding a strategy to write it, to be consistent, because you've got to do the work. I don't write, you do the work. You write, and you write, and I've got that accountability. So I keep a selection of really beautiful, colourful whips. And you can pick
I use green.
ones you like. Yes. You want the pink one? There it is. You want the one to sparkles on?
If it gets you moving.
Get you move. Whatever gets you moving, girl. You want a little tough love? You got it. You want encouragement? You want strategy? Whatever. So I feed it out. You know, let's see what it is that person needs, and it can vary. It can vary from week to week, and it can vary in the different types of writing that a person does. You know, if it's more of a strategy book, sharing their experiences from the business world, or it's the most popular genre at the moment is autobiographical self-help personal development. Very popular.
And you should say that, because I'm also in the process of writing well, it's going to be slightly autobiographical kind of, and also a little bit of self-help, personal development infused together. That's what I'm looking at doing, and I'm writing that. I think I've kind of got a bit of creator's block at the moment. There's so much going on. It's about finding that time to sit down. But is there something that can be done if we are having a writer's block or creative block? Are there any tools that we can do?
Well, a lot of it is the pressure you put on yourself. So, I mean, it's part of the strategy that I use. So I teach the writing process, and then I look at, you know, marketing, how you're going to market it. And the marketing is not a business plan so much. This is relevant to answer your question, believe me.
Yes.
It's about talking about your book. So every time you meet somebody, you do a post, you make a comment with somebody else. Actually, I write about this in my book. And you say, well, in my next book or in my upcoming book, I'm going to be talking about this very topic. Oh, it's funny you should say that. But I've been writing about this actually right now for my upcoming book. And as you do that, you build ideas in your own head. the answers that you get from those words that you express will also loosen up the tightness, the stress, the prevention, the blocks and the obstacles, because you're talking about it, you're expressing it, you're saying, you know, funny you should say that, but I'm writing about relationships at the moment. It's fascinating. And the response will be, oh, which area? And you'll go, oh, and open that.
I love that. Do you know what? It's kind of like allowing yourself to receive more information, because a lot of what I do when I'm working with the women that I work with, when I'm coaching them, is all about being within their feminine energy. And we know that that is the creative energy, the receptive energy, the being in flow, the expression of oneself. So to talk about the work that you're doing, I'm doing to people, and to allow myself to receive almost new information or guidance can really expand and open up the level of content, I suppose, that you want to put into that book, which I think, you know, that's a fantastic piece of guidance there, because I've never really thought about that. So yes, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about my book a lot more, which is
listening.
You're listening. Fantastic. And everyone else watching or listening has heard me proclaim that too. So here we are. So talking more about the book journey, what is it that perhaps, because for, I think a lot of people, maybe most people, they don't think, aha, I'm going to write a book. I wonder what could be done in your experience to have more people have that aha moment. You know, what is it that maybe stops people from thinking, I'm going to write a book?
Well, as we know, we are geniuses at the self-sabotage, but it's also letting people know that publishing is not an elite business.
Oh, yes.
I think it's important to let people know that, you know, the written word, there's been a lot of look, let's put it this way around. There's been a lot of censorship and more will come. But with the written word, you know, your book will travel, even if you can't.
Yeah, okay.
Your book can be translated into other language. Your book can spread. So that's one area to remember, that your word, your ideas, your version of life, your opinion, your expertise can be shared. It can be resonated throughout, echoed throughout the world.
Yes.
So it's letting people know that, yes, there is investment involved. Yes, there is work and energy, but everything you do in life that's worthwhile takes time, energy, and investment. So it's nothing new. It's just, you know, the mindset. It's about opening up your mind to realize that you do have something to say of worth and value.
Yes.
Even if you are, especially if you are a woman. You know, I always say, we've seen and heard all the road movies by men. Now let's listen, read and see the road movies by women, because we've got amazing experiences to share. You really need to be standing up and stepping up and telling the world what's going on in our worlds, in every arena and area. And writing is a great way to spread it. So it's about, you know, letting people know that it's, on one hand, it is much easier than you think. Much easier to do and to publish. It's just about focusing in. It's like with anything you want to do in life. Focus and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Just do it. I think maybe, you know, one great step to get people to feel more comfortable with writing, if they're not really used to writing, would be to journal. Perhaps, and firstly, get in touch with all that you are about, your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions, and just practice journaling for a while. If writing is not necessarily something that you think, oh, okay, I need to publish something, but just really get to know yourself through the power of writing. And also something that I encourage with journaling is to actually get a piece of paper, notepad, there we go, pen.
Magic.
There is magic in the power of the energy exchange that can happen when you are journaling. We're so used to being on our laptops, on our phone, you know, typing, you know, using our keypads, but in actual fact, there's so much more that you find that will just automatically come up without you thinking about it subconsciously when you start writing using a pen and paper. Even I have noticed and witnessed myself that when I am writing and journaling, sometimes I might write something in capital letters rather than lowercase. And I'm thinking, wow, why have I done that in capitals? Just free flowing. It stood out. It's a message to me that is something important. So I would always encourage people to get to journaling. if it's something that you're not used to.
You know, I always say, instead of taking your phone with you when you go for a walk, just take a pen and a little notebook instead. Wow. Just write to yourself. You might see something and it inspires you, just jot it down.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not used to doing that. You know, firstly, we're probably not taking big enough handbag with us to be able to put everything in. Well,
back pocket or down your bra.
Oh, exactly. The goodies that we can place there. But yeah, no, absolutely. Being intentional. I think that's one thing, just being intentional about, you know, how we are going to express ourselves on a daily basis. Be intentional with our writing on a daily basis. Really be in the moment and knowing, as I said, we have experiences that other people can really benefit from you. And we have that comparison, oh, my story or my experiences aren't as good as somebody else's. It's not going to be as juicy. It's not going to be as fiery. In actual fact, your story may absolutely resonate with that one person, even if it's one person at that time, and make such a transformational difference in their world. I absolutely love that. Talking about writing, and we spoke about letters, and we don't really write many letters. Do you think that there is a power of really tapping into your creative skills when it comes to relationships? How can that benefit our relationships?
So I'll answer that with a question. Have you ever received a love letter?
A handwritten one? I have indeed. I have indeed. Many moons ago.
Yes. Isn't it? You see, it's something that you will keep, you know, forever. And it used to be something that we would keep forever. And it's the power of language, the power of those words that can resonate and make us feel, you know, so cared for, so loved, so appreciated. You know? So writing, I've forgotten the question now.
No, isn't it the power of writing? Now, how can we actually use that in our relationships? We seem to have lost the knack for doing that.
So, as you said, the journaling is really good. So you know, if you're going through a good time or a hard time or a questionable time in your relationship, it's very good to write it out. It's like talking to yourself.
Yes.
You know, it is a way of, and it's more not controlled, but it's more concise because you're choosing the words very carefully. There is an extraordinary relationship between our head, our heart, and our hand when we're writing. There's something that happens in that connection, you know, the thinking, the thoughts, the heart, the feeling. You know, because with the spoken word, we can, you know, express a lot of, you know, swear words and curse words and emotion. But when we're writing, we have to take a little bit more time because we can't write as fast as we talk.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And if I do, I cannot read what I have written afterwards. What kind of mumbo jumbo have I wrote there? So, but it's funny what you're saying about hands, actually, because often, you know, hands can be quite healing. There's like energy that can come from the power of using your hands. So perhaps also using the hands to write, to journal, sends a sense of healing, a sense of releasing, isn't it? It's like an energy release that comes through the power of the hands. I absolutely love that. And I would say, exactly when it comes to relationships, be old school, so to speak, and get out pen, paper, and write that love letter. Write a love note. It could even be just a little note that you leave on the table for your partner, wherever they can find it. Surprise them. It might be one of their words of affirmations. I love you. I appreciate you. Whatever that means for you, that can be so powerful. I remember when I worked in corporate, and some of the managers would actually leave little post-it notes on the monitors of their staff, their team members. So when they handwritten notes to say, well done, you know, great job yesterday. But it's almost like the time, the energy that is taken for that person to sit down and actually write it out. Because we know how, quote unquote, busy people are these days. So actually to take that time to be thoughtful and to write it out, I think is so powerful and can really build connection between people.
I would also say that, you know, if you're going through a difficult relationship or troublesome, or you want to end the relationship, or you need to end the relationship, writing is also a great way for you to express all that passion, anger, frustration, annoyance, all that stuff, and get it out of your system, so that afterwards you think, okay, I've released it. Now I can handle it in a much more civil, diplomatic, healthy, etc. way.
Absolutely. In a
It's
way that
healing. It's very healing. Yeah.
it is healing. I would so agree. And sometimes when I'm working with people when I do couple coaching, and they find it really difficult to express themselves because they get caught up on their words, they can be quite emotionally charged when speaking. I do encourage them to write it out exactly. And even if they are comfortable, is reading that letter verbatim. If they want to sit down with their partner, read it verbatim, or they could hand it to the partner and say, you read this in your own time. But then it allows them to manage the conversation in a carefrontation way, and to really express themselves fully without it being too emotionally charged, and to use statements such as, I feel, rather than you do this. We have to be very mindful about the language that we use, and finger pointed language. You make me feel this way. It's kind of, I feel hurt, or I feel frustrated, I feel tired, because you can't really argue with somebody's feelings, can you, Georgia? It's like, your feelings are your feelings. You can't say, oh no, you cannot feel a certain way. You can express them. You might not agree with them, of course, you might not agree with the feelings, but you can certainly express the way that you feel, because it's a lovely release. So talking about relationships, I just want to kind of pivot the conversation, because you are in a relationship yourself. And I would love for you to share with the audience some of the key experiences that you've had, past, current, when it comes to your relationship, and some of your key takeaways that you've had.
So, love relationships.
Yes.
Love relationships are always a little tricky, because they require a lot of the give and take. And I personally don't believe in duty and obligation within a relationship. And so that boundary has always been very strong in me. So immediately somebody says to me, or partner, or the person I'm attracted to says to me, well, now you have to, and I want you to, and I'm out, I'm gone. There was, I'd like to share this with you, probably know this, it was an old saying, but feminist saying from years ago, and it was, where have all those good men gone that used to leave before breakfast?
What a different perspective to have.
And I kind of like that one, I must say, because I didn't want all the duties and obligations poured on me within 5 minutes of knowing somebody. And that helped me to keep my boundaries straight. But at the same time, when you meet somebody who you feel a chemistry with, or you feel a synergy with, or you feel like you really want to get to know this person more, it might take time, or it could be instant. It's you have to go with that. You have to allow it to, you have to follow your heart, follow your feelings. But how you keep that balance and not get drowned in it is the secret of life.
Yes.
And to keep that balance for me was always very much about, don't give me any duties or obligations. Don't put a ring on my finger.
Not exactly. I've known you for a couple of hours.
Exactly. So
let's
like,
grow.
What, hold on.
Yeah. So that's really good. So duties, obligations, boundaries. Now that is a huge word. We hear this word, creating healthy boundaries so much when it comes to the relationship world, dating world. It's crucial to know what your boundaries are, to know how to spot the red flags when it comes to relationships, but also the green flags that do exist within a relationship, because there are some really healthy green flags. And as we mentioned at the start of our discussion, in a world full of drama and being in that environment, our brains are actually wired to focus on the red flags, just because of how we have been for mystery. We've gone into that survival mode. We are always looking for some form of danger to mitigate the risk. So we are wired to do that. However, when we can spot the green flags as well, and what makes us feel good, the boundaries when it comes to our relationships, and not feeling pressured, obligated, because sometimes I speak, probably on behalf of many women, is that we can feel that pressure to be a martyr or to not be our true selves. We may feel like we're going to be in a doormat in a relationship and feeling oppressed. But those are not feelings, no, that we want to be having. That's not a good sign of being in a healthy relationship whatsoever. So you are in a partnership, you're in a relationship currently. So tell us a bit more about how that came about.
Well, you mentioned two very crucial words about risks, you know, and I think one of the things that we do, and it's a tricky area, I know, but we overthink, we overanalyze, and we overlabel all those red flags that you talked about, and it prevents us from moving forward because we overtalk it.
Yes.
You know, especially the girls, we talk to each other. Well, what do you think? Do you think I should? Do you think I shouldn't? Is it right? Is he good? What do you think? And there's all this blah, 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 instead of just, you know, going for it, saying clearly from the beginning, I do want a relationship, but I don't do, and I certainly don't do, you know, in a kind and loving way. So I met my partner at a party that neither of us wanted to go to. But,
just did it.
Red flag.
Red flag.
But at the same time, I went in because I'm not afraid of risks. I take responsibility for the risks, and I think that's key. A lot of people, you know, think, oh, well, what if it could? Maybe it was. Don't think about those things. You know, face up to it. You can handle. You can handle it. And so, what if you make a mistake? It's not the end of the world. Don't beat yourself up. You can go. You can. The door is still open.
Absolutely. I always say it's just tools of enlightenment. You learn from it, you take the lesson from it, you move forward.
So I met my partner at this party, and both of us were going through difficult times in our lives, very different situations. And I was working nights, he was working days. Never mind all the other stuff that was going on in our different lives, because we were adults, you know, we were grown-ups. But we realized there was a connection there, despite all these differences that we had. And what can I say? Love shone through.
Yes.
And he, especially from his part, he was much more trusting than me. I was like, well, when you go?
Yeah.
And so within a year of knowing each other, we made a decision that we had to get out of London, of this particular lifestyle, because it was going to kill the relationship.
I see.
And so we took the risk.
Yes.
We took the risk to leave. And we came to Spain on a whim and a fancy with very little knowledge of anything that was going on. And, you know, built a new life for ourselves here. It wasn't easy.
Okay.
There was a lot of me running away, running into the sea. I can't stand this. And then coming out and seeing, because we both realized that we were soulmates.
Wow.
We both knew it, but we had to go through the brambles and the bushes and all the difficulties because it doesn't just happen like that. It takes work, and it takes understanding, and it takes sitting down. And we're together 20 years now.
Amazing. And that's the word, you know, work, that you use there. That's such a, you know, beautiful story about how you accepted a risk, especially of vulnerability, open yourself up, a whole new world. You left the country and you started up life somewhere else because you identified what could actually potentially damage the relationship and the length of your relationship, and you moved and you worked at the relationship, so much so that 20 years on you are together, you know, in a relationship. And I just wanted to ask a bit more about, you said that you knew that you were soulmates. What is that knowing? Explain more.
Oh, well, you asked earlier about love. What is love? And for me, love is a verb. It's a verb. It's action. If you love somebody, you take action. You show your love. You demonstrate. You give your love. You don't hold back. So with a child, for example, it's much easier to understand.
Yes.
You love your child. You hold your child. You care. You feed. You help them sleep. You help them get through, etc., etc. You do things for them. And I think it's the same as an adult.
Yes.
You give them your love in a physical, in a demonstrative way. It's a verb. It's an action. It's not, yes, it is. It involves emotions, absolutely. But, I can say I love you to 1,000 people. What does it mean?
Yeah. It's so important to know what love means to you. And I love the way that you described it as a verb. It's the acts,
Yes.
and it's the doing of that. Of course, there's a receiving of love, which is great. We want to receive love, but it's also knowing how your partner wants to receive that love. What does doing mean for you? What does doing mean for your partner? Because sometimes when it comes to relationships, we're like, yes, but I did something for my partner, and like, well, I didn't want you to do that. I want you to do this. So it's been absolutely clear about the needs, how to fulfill the needs of somebody. And that comes with work. It comes with growth. It comes with nurturing the relationship to really understand what the needs are and not being afraid to speak up and say what your needs are. If somebody's not fulfilling your needs, you say it, as you said, in a kind, loving way. Appreciated that you did this for me. I would love for you to do this. There's different ways in which you can express your needs without having to say, oh, I don't want that necklace. It's not even my color.
Exactly. So, for example, my partner doesn't give flowers and chocolates and things like that. It's just not, for him, it doesn't mean love. It's a bother to go and buy it and spend it. And anyway, he'll probably eat it before I do. And all this. So it's like it's not in his head to give me those kind of gifts. But all the other things that he does to show his care and appreciation, that's what is the value. So it's about changing that value around from gifts and presents and nights out and all these very they're kind of superficial, really. Because how many businessmen get their secretaries to arrange the gifts, the holidays, the trips away, the weekends in the hotel? They don't do it.
They don't do it.
The secretary does it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a meaning, isn't it? It's the meaning behind the act, which I think is so much. It's one thing to do the act, but it's the meaning and the energy behind doing that act. And there's a great test or quiz out there called The 5 Love Languages by a gentleman called Gary Chapman. And you can actually go online and find out what your love language is. How do you receive and appreciate love? And there's 5 love languages according to Gary Chapman. So you've got words of affirmation, you've got acts of service, you've got gifts, you've got physical touch and quality time. So all of these are doing activities, but when you find out and tap into how you want to receive that, like for me, I'm absolutely big on quality time. So buying me a gift isn't necessarily going to meet my love language and to make me feel fulfilled. I will appreciate it, but if you know that for me it's quality time, then I'm going to be truly tapped into my level of appreciation if we spend quality time together. So that's so key, what you have shared there. And when we were talking a bit about social media earlier, and I thought, oh, okay, dating apps. We spoke about like the language that we can use when it comes to social media. We to make it small, we abbreviate, all of these terms. Do you have a view on dating apps at all and how that can impact our relationships?
I personally don't like dating apps. I cannot understand why we use them so much. We've lost this ability to talk to people. We've just, never mind what's happened in the last 2 years, we've just lost that ability to, say, oh, you're drinking the same coffee as me, or what did you think of that over there? Or did you hear that? You're looking at my book. Have you read my book too? Starting a simple conversation with somebody else. I mean, we're encouraged to do this in networking, on social media, in fact. Just talk, build a relationship. Why don't you do that with the person you're attracted to? And if they say, no, I'm married, or whatever else they might say, or leave me alone, we're suspicious, we overthink, we overanalyze. Oh, he's not dressed the way I like, or she's not dressed the way I'm. Superficial nonsense. So I still talk to people, smile. What about a smile? Well, when you can, when you're allowed. Smiling at people. I mean, if you're in a cafe, I don't know where people go nowadays, museums, art galleries, theatres, whatever, music events, you know, and you're enjoying yourself. You turn to somebody and you smile, you're sharing your appreciation with something that's going on. Could you not take that further?
Yes.
Could that not happen?
I
and you know, we shared upon this, and I really want to get this out as well.
Yes.
Is platonic relationships and how rewarding they are. How much we need them in our lives, how fulfilling and satisfying they can be when we can open up in a trusting platonic relationship with a woman or a man. Or
that's so true. And just and a couple of things I want to pick up on what you said there. Firstly, when it comes to smiling, what you said when it comes to connection, and I'm known as a smiler. I do smile a lot, and ever since I was a young child, I've done a lot of smiling with people. And I think in the world of social media and whatever it might be, I don't want to put too much weight on social media, but it does have a part to play. There's so much rejection that can come from that, whether it's rejection because your posts aren't getting traction, not getting engagement, you're getting all that kind of stuff. There's that element of rejection that comes from it. So sometimes you might feel, I'll give a smile to you, and somebody looks at you like, why are you smiling? What do you want from me? What are you smiling at me from? It's almost like somebody you want something. There's somebody who wants something from you, and that's not it. It's just a generally nice gesture. It's a warm gesture, and it's almost like that feel of rejection. It's like, if I smile and I don't smile back, then what have I done wrong? There's so much things that we end up questioning. Exactly. And we need to come from a place where we just, not that we don't care what other people think and feel, but it's almost like not putting that pressure on us to think there's something we've done or something about us, our self-esteem, that needs improving, that needs changing. I
think we've become very much afraid of what other people, as I said, we overthink it. I love to walk down the road and smile. Okay, so maybe I smile as let's say an older person, and they can't return that smile for the thousands of reasons that are going through their mind. But I guarantee it, they feel it.
Yes.
And that is the gift. That's it. I've given it away. It's like the book. You've written the book. It's out in the world. Take it or leave it.
Yes. The gift of just that smile, the gift of connection.
Letting go.
Let it go.
Your duty. So if you're out somewhere and you see a person that you're attracted to, and you smile at them, or you give them a little
a little flirt,
an interest, a little flirt, and they don't respond, so what? You've enjoyed that moment for what it is. You might look again and think, oh, wouldn't I? Oh, if I could, whatever you're thinking. But they're not responding because either they've got too much going on, or they're in another situation, or whatever it is. So what? You may take it further, but you see, it's all about confidence and courage, and if you went up to that person and said, I've been smiling at you for a long time. Wow, that's a bit unusual, isn't it? And what's it going to be, World War IX going to start? No, that person's going to say, sorry, I'm married, or sorry, I can't, or this is my kid, or whatever. And then you'll take that respect. Respect. Yes. You see that they're married, you see them kissing somebody else, you see them with a child, you walk away.
Oh, absolutely. You've now got some information that means that you're not going to pursue it. Having those morals and having those boundaries and respect for the situation.
And move on. There's plenty more fish in the sea.
There is, and you move on, and it's us putting so much meaning. And sometimes it's not even about that person may receive that smile. Absolutely. It's how we feel for giving it. It's that energy exchange, because when we can feel good, we gave that person a smile. And I feel good for that.
Yes.
And that's a really powerful thing. And even if people choose to go on a dating app, it's about using your communication in a very powerful way and not in a quote unquote lazy way. For example, if you're on a dating app and you message somebody and you just say, hey, and If I was to be in a park or in a bar or in a restaurant and you were to walk up to me and put your hand up and say, hey, look at you, think, oh, okay. And so
Yes.
it's kind of like, even if you are going to use dating apps, just communicate in a way that encourages conversation, and from a way that you come in with, as Georgia would say, courage, confidence. And even if it doesn't work out with that person, you move on to another person. It's not the end of the world. It really isn't. So also what you spoke about, platonic relationships, really important that we discuss this, because a lot of people may even have platonic relationships, and then when they move into a love relationship, they will end that platonic relationship, and they say this is out of respect for their partner. However, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, this is my feelings about it. If there is complete trust in a relationship, and both people have spoken very clearly about boundaries as well, what is expected from a platonic relationship, for example, and have a really healthy discussion about what that looks like for the individual couple, I see no reason why you cannot have platonic relationships, or why they have to come to an end for it. Other people will have different views, particularly if you've got a religious angle to you. Sometimes it's not encouraged when you meet somebody, and with no judgment, I'm not here to judge, but that's my own personal opinion on it. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Oh, well, Teresha, I think a lot of it is about ownership, possession, and, not allowing the other person to breathe. You now belong to me. And we're brought up to, I think we talked about this before, about girls being brought up to wait for the man on the white horse to come along, or the person on the white horse. And boys are told to sow their seed and have a wonderful time. And we're ships in the night, we're going to cross. Yeah. We're expecting things from a person that's never going to happen. Yeah. But why is it that we have to, for me, the whole idea is you cannot get everything from one person. It's just absolutely impossible. It's ridiculous. We used to have extended families in order to extend our friendships, our needs, our relationships. Women, particularly with children, need that. Yes. They need to have a support system, a friendship system around them. Now, whether that comes from another woman or a man is irrelevant. You might have a fantastic brother who's really great with your kids, or an uncle who just didn't have kids himself, who wants to be with your children, for example. Yes. But why can't we have platonic relationships with, people from the opposite sex? What is this barrier that we hold, that we impose on each other? I don't agree with it at all. And if my partner doesn't accept my friendships with other people, there's something there to discuss, to work out. We put a great emphasis upon possessiveness, but possessiveness is insecurity, self-defensiveness, it's jealousy, and a big area to explore is male jealousy. Okay. It's deep, and it goes back thousands of years. Yes. And it's seldom explored. We talk about women being jealous, but what about men? When men are jealous, out come the guns. Yes. Okay. I completely hear that. That sounds like a lovely, juicy episode to explore more about, because if it goes back, thousands of years, there definitely is something to look upon there. And as you said, a lot of our insecurities can come when it comes to platonic relationships, and sometimes that is due to our past experiences as well. Perhaps we have been burnt, we've been betrayed in some way, and we've brought along our past experiences from relationships. Sometimes it might not even be a romantic or love relationship. It could be some form of betrayal or rejection, abandonment that's happened from our parents. We can sometimes have particular attachment styles that we carry into relationships, and some of the insecurities with these attachment styles could be that you're an anxious attachment style, or you have an avoidant attachment style where you push people away, or the anxious style whereby you can become quite needy, quite clingy, quite possessive, as one of the words that you use there when it comes to relationship. But once we understand more about ourselves and we do the inner work,
there's no reason why we can't have a healthy discussion with our partner about having platonic relationships and being okay with having a relationship with the uncle, with the brother, with the friend from work. It might be, it could be any sort of connection who is of the opposite sex. It does not have to be sexualized in any way, shape, or form. It's almost like, okay, you're speaking to somebody who is the opposite sex to you, and suddenly it's a sexual connection that you have. It's really understanding the value and the meaning behind those relationships, and understanding if there is a lack of trust in the relationship or boundaries aren't clear, to have that discussion, really, and to see how they can be met.
Yes,
that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it is about respect as well, having respect for each other. And the other thing I want to mention is that in certain cultures, we are much more tactile. So, for example, a lot of Mediterranean people are very tactile. They hug and they kiss and they touch all the time, and they don't mind bumping into each other, and they'll hold on to each other, men and women, women and men. They do it, girls and boys. They're used to that tactile way of relating with each other, human beings. But in certain cultures, it's not done. So, okay, now in the UK, it's very popular to hug.
Yes.
It never used to be.
No, we've kind of moved on a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah, so if you nudge them, say, oh, sorry, it's like fear of touching someone. Here it's absolutely, nobody blinks an eyelid, So there are cultural differences. Yes. And when you start to look at that a little bit more, so if you see me putting my arm around somebody, it doesn't mean I'm doing anything else with them but putting my arm around them, because this is what we do, human beings. So loosen up a little bit. Stop overthinking. Stop analyzing it and saying, well, it must be because he's doing something sexual. You must stop all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's more to life than that. And it is about, heartfelt relationships, friendships, supporting, caring for each other. This is going back to that word love.
Yes.
How do you show your love? By sharing and caring. And that can be with a friend. I mean, I love you, Teresha.
Yeah, and I love you too.
All the work that you do, the amazing work that you do. I admire what you do, helping people to understand their connections, to bring about greater love in the world. So I love and appreciate you. But I ain't going to lie down in the bed with you, girl.
No.
Not today, anyway.
Okay, thank you. There's hope then.
But, if we were in a certain situation where there was only one bed, I would, and it wouldn't mean anything more than just sharing and caring. That's it. So don't overthink it. Don't analyze it. Don't put that nasty psychological crap onto me.
Completely hear that, and you make a good point there. You made so many valid, beautiful points here in a discussion about culture as well, because we are living in a diverse society too. So it's also being very mindful about if somebody is more tactile. It could be a cultural thing too. It doesn't mean anything more. It's just don't overthink it. And even if you do feel uncomfortable, and we have to put this disclaimer out there, if you do feel uncomfortable by any form of personal touch at all, tell that person that you don't feel comfortable. We have to be also stand in our power. And if something does make us feel uncomfortable or unsafe, is to communicate that as well in a kind, loving, respectful way, which is one of the big words that we've used throughout this conversation too. So, Georgia, I am just going to kind of bring the conversation to a close here, because you've shared so much, and I want the audience to be able to really mull over everything that you've shared and to take away everything and to really tap into some of the aha moments and key takeaways that have come from the conversation. I would absolutely love for you to share one key takeaway that our audience can use on their journey of love, life, and relationships.
Powerful question there. Okay, so the one that first comes to my mind is just remember and really digest that your voice and your pen are your two most powerful tools of communication. Use them. Use your voice and your pen. It's your gift, and everybody has that ability. Especially us in the Western world, we know how to write. But use your voice and your pen, however, to communicate.
Oh, that's beautiful. How expressive. Oh, I love that. I love that takeaway, Georgia. Please, please do let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, follow you, and any future events that you have coming up.
Ooh, thank you so much, Teresha. So the reason why I'm going a bit excited is because I'm back on Facebook with a new writing challenge coming up at the end of the month called Develop the Mindset of an Author. And it is a 3-day writing challenge, 23rd to the 25th of May. So the details is for girls only, because we want to see what the girls are saying.
Mm-hmm.
It will open up later. But I also run, the details will come, I'm sure.
Yes, they will be in the show notes.
Thank you. I also run a monthly masterclass, which will be on in June next, which is always about, they're free classes. It's about, sharing all the tips and tricks about the writing business and how you can get started and overcome the obstacles and, enjoy the reasons to write and the benefits from writing.
Yeah. I've attended and I highly recommend. It's a fabulous, fabulous masterclass.
Thank you so much. And of course, I have all the programs. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, where I share my gems, treasures, nuggets, genius. And and I have programs which you can find on my website. And I just love seeing people express themselves through the written word, more so nowadays, but also, let your voice be heard. Let your voice be understood. Learn to speak what's important to you, and your relationships in every area will blossom.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful parting note. As you can see, Georgia can be connected with and followed across so many platforms, and I would strongly encourage you, because there's so much power in the work that she does. And you really have the opportunity to use your voice and to express yourself in the most magnificent way. And the feeling that you're going to get from that empowerment is just going to be undescribable. In actual fact, write about the feeling that you're going to get from it. So Georgia, thank you so much for being such a beautiful, phenomenal, incredible, special guest on Relationship Talk. And thank you so much. And for everybody who has tuned in to this episode, I want to say thank you so much. And until the next Real Relationship Talk, the podcast episode, take great care of yourself and others too.